some advice for the right honourable gentleman. Look behind you. They're not impressed, and neither is the country.
Mr. Speaker, you helpfully circulated an update on the behaviour in this place. Now, this year, when we've been celebrating 100 years of women getting the vote, do you think it's appropriate language, can I ask my right honourable friend, to call people a stupid women in this chamber?
Can I say to my honourable friend that I think that everybody in this House, particularly in this 100th year anniversary of women getting the vote, should be aiming to encourage women to come into this chamber and to stand in this chamber, and should therefore use appropriate language in this chamber when they are referring to female members.
Mr. Nigel Dodds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I join with others in wishing everybody a very happy Christmas and a peaceful New Year? And as the Prime Minister ponders over Christmas what might be done to get her withdrawal agreement through this House, can I urge her to consider the necessary changes that need to be made, not just assurances, in order to get somewhere with any realistic prospect of actually winning that vote.
I hope the right honourable gentleman will forgive me if I say I will like to give him the reassurance that we will of course look at all the options that are available for dealing with the issues that have been raised.
Order. No, points of order come after statements, as the right honourable gentleman is well aware. Thank you. Calm down. I don't need any advice from the honourable lady. Order. I understand that the point of order flows from the exchanges, and in those circumstances, as I've done on previous occasions, I will take the point of order from the order. No. I'm taking the point of order from the right honourable gentleman. I will be the judge of these matters. Point of order, Sir Patrick McLaughlin.
Mr. Speaker, you may not have seen during the exchanges in Prime Minister's questions that when the Leader of the Opposition sat down, he muttered words which were quite clearly visible, accusing the Prime Minister of being a stupid woman. Bearing in mind, Mr. Speaker, the booklet that you issued this week, the words that the Leader of the Opposition said last September, would it not be appropriate for him to come back in the chamber and apologise?
I'm pleased to respond to the right honourable gentleman's point of order. As he rightly surmised at the start of it, I saw no such thing. I am not making an allegation, and I am not denying or seeking to refute that of the right honourable gentleman. I cannot be expected to pronounce upon that which I did not see and which was not witnessed by my advisers and which I did not hear and which was not witnessed by my advisers. Order, I don't need any advice in how to respond to a point of order from the right honourable gentleman, which is what I'm doing. What I say in response, with all courtesy to the right honourable gentleman, who's perfectly entitled to have raised that point of order, is that it is incumbent upon all members of this House to operate in accordance with its best conventions and to follow the conventions and courtesies. If a member has failed to do so, that member has a responsibility to apologise. He is quite right to say that. What he cannot, and I'm sure does not expect me to do, is to pronounce a verdict in a circumstance which I did not witness, either in terms of seeing anything or of hearing anything, and neither did my advisers. And I will leave it there. And it's perfectly... Order. It is perfectly proper that the Right Honourable Gentleman raised the matter. I have responded to it, and there can be no further to that point of order, because I have... There can be no further to that point of order on that matter, for the simple reason, as he acknowledges with his nod of assent, that he's raised it with me and I have responded to it.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Is it on an unrelated matter? No, I've already... All right. I'm not going to take lectures from members. I will take... It is normal convention in this place that when a matter has been addressed, again, part of the conventions and courtesies of this House, that people recognise that you don't have repeat points of order on exactly the You don't have repeat points of order on exactly this order on exact.
Every week we do.
On exactly the same matter. I am perfectly prepared to take a point of order on the matter from the Leader of the House. We have order. We have heavy business today, some of which is government statements, and with which we will, in due course, preferably reasonably soon, need to proceed. But I will happily take the Right Honourable Lady's point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would just like to ask, after your finding there that individuals who are found to have made unwelcome remarks should apologise, why it is that when an opposition member found that you had called me a stupid woman, you did not apologise in this chamber.
No. I'll deal with the point. I dealt with that matter months ago in remarks that I made to the House of Commons, to which the Right Honourable Lady in our various meetings since has made no reference, and which requires from the Chair today no elaboration whatsoever. She's asked the question. I dealt with it months ago. I've reiterated the rationale for the way in which I responded. The matter has been treated of, and I am leaving it there. And if there are a point of order, Anna Soubry.
Very much, Mr. Speaker. With great respect to the Chair, I have to say this. If it was one of my male colleagues on this side of the House that had used that expression against a woman on the front bench on the opposition, then you, sir, would take action immediately. This is not... Please, would you deal with it, as you often do, Mr. Speaker, in a fair way, but also from the point of view of women in this House who are fed up over decades of being abused by men?
Very happy. I'm very happy to deal with it. The Right Honourable Lady is absolutely right to say that if I witnessed an instance of the kind that has just been alleged, I would deprecate it unreservedly. It's no good people shaking their heads. I received assent to the proposition, which I think would command widespread assent, simply and logically, that I cannot be expected to deprecate the behaviour of an individual which I did not witness. Order. If the Right Honourable Lady is asking me whether I deprecate without reservation the use of such language, yes, obviously, absolutely I do, without any hesitation. But I cannot be expected to pronounce judgment in a particular case on a given individual when I wasn't privy to the circumstances. But if she's asking me, is that language unacceptable? It is. No, she's... Very well. Point of order, Anna Soubry.
if I and other colleagues, who I can see the phones, clearly the evidence exists, if we bring it to you within the next, 2 minutes, would you then, Mr. Speaker, take action? Because again, I make the point, if it was a male on this side, I think you would against a woman on the other side.
The answer is that forgive me, but it is incumbent upon a member who has erred, who has used inappropriate language and behaved improperly, to come to the House, to come to the House. It is incumbent upon that person, to recognise the misconduct and to apologise for it. If members produce what they regard as evidence, of course it is order. If members produce what they regard as evidence, it is order. If members produce what they... I'm in the middle of... No, what I say to the honourable gentleman, the member for Braintree, is please have the courtesy to allow me to respond to the right honourable lady's point of order. If evidence is produced, it will be considered, and I will take professional advice, as fair-minded people would expect me to do. Point of order, Vicky Ford.
Mr. Speaker, could you confirm that it is not acceptable parliamentary language to call a woman a stupid woman in this House? And as regards the point of order from the Leader of the House, may I add the words, me too?
The answer is, I've already made the response to that point perfectly clear. So, forgive me, I treat the honourable lady with courtesy and respect, and she's perfectly entitled to raise a point of order. But of that point, I have already treated. Point of order, James Cleverly.
In the leaflet you distributed, you make the point, very rightly, that we are all honourable members. Our word is therefore evidence. I saw it, sir. I saw him say it.
Yes, I am not seeking to refute what the honourable gentleman is saying. I am simply saying I didn't witness it. The clerk of the House and the other clerks at the table didn't witness it. And I cannot be expected immediately, it's no good somebody waving something at me. I cannot be expected immediately to pronounce guilt or innocence. No, I can't be expected immediately to pronounce. I can't be expected. What I reiterate to the honourable order, I'll deal with it in a moment. What I reiterate to the honourable gentleman is that members are responsible for their own conduct and should apologise if they have committed a misdemeanour. It's no good a member standing by the chair and trying to show me something. I would say what I say to the honourable gentleman is that the Leader of the Opposition will have heard of the allegations that have been made, he will have heard the allegations, if the right honourable gentleman, in the light of those, chose to come to the House and to respond, I'm sure that would be appreciated by the House. Point of order, Dame Margaret Beckett.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I understand the observations made by the Right Honourable Lady opposite, and I hope I bow to no one in my wish to see the courtesies of this House observed. But do you believe that it is in order for what appears to be becoming almost an orchestrated riot to take place?
Order. No, I'm sorry. Honourable and right honourable members have raised points of order and they have been heard, and they have been answered. The notion that the right honourable lady stands to raise a point of order and is then shouted down is order. Don't know to me. That is exactly what an attempt was being made to achieve, and it's not going to work. Point of order, Dame Margaret Beckett.
Certainly, Mr. Speaker, it does seem to me, and I have been in this House for some many years, that an attempt is presently being made to shout you down. There is much serious business before this House, and I would be astonished if a single one of our constituents does not view these scenes with utter contempt.
Well, I thank the right honourable lady for what she has said. Yes, of course, I'll come to the other members. Point of order, Dr. Caroline Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's clear that this has raised some significant upset on certainly on our side, and I suspect in some of the women and us. I said the issue of the leader of the opposition being alleged to have called someone a stupid woman. Our Prime Minister of our country, a stupid woman, has clearly caused high feeling. It is also clear that many honourable and right honourable members have evidence to show you, and I'm really grateful that you're willing to look at that and then to take the advice that you need before coming back to the House. Can I ask within what time frame you expect to be able to do so?
Yes, that's order. Order, that's a very reasonable point of order, and the answer is, I reiterate that I am happy to look at that evidence if that evidence exists. Order, I don't need the honourable gentleman to chunter. I don't need the intervention of the honourable gentleman, which doesn't advance matters. What I say to the honourable lady with courtesy is that I've heard a point of order, I am willing to consider that evidence, and I would come back on the matter as advised by the clerk after the 2 statements to the House. That seems perfectly reasonable. We have 2 statements to follow. If the evidence exists, it can be looked at, and a response can be provided, and we can take the matter from there, but it can perfectly reasonably wait and should sensibly do so until the 2 statements have been delivered to the House and questioning has taken place on them. Point of order, Sir Oliver Heald.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful to you for looking at the evidence. I think they call it VAR in football. But when you come back, would it be possible for the House authorities to have contacted the office of the Leader of the Opposition to make sure that he's present to hear your ruling?
Let's wait to see. If I have a ruling, it would be a great courtesy if the Leader of the Opposition were here, and I very much hope that he will be. And I note what the right honourable gentleman has said. Point of order, point of order, Dr. Stella Creasy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Calling anybody a stupid woman is not acceptable. Can I endorse the words of my honourable colleague opposite that also what is important if we want to encourage a wide range of people to get involved in politics, that we have cool heads, accessible processes and an honest way of proceeding, and that right now the most important thing for this House is to be able to go away, look at the evidence and get on with doing our job. So, Mr. Speaker, please can you tell us how do we move on to the next bit of business?
The answer is, I don't need the honourable gentleman continually ranting. It's order. Don't argue the toss with me, Mr. Hoare. I will call the points of order when I'm I'll call them when I'm ready. What I say to the honourable lady is that the best way in which to proceed is to move to the statements, and I will treat of further points of order in the circumstances. Don't forget, I was not aware of this alleged evidence, and it has been brought to light by points of order. But the sooner the points of order come to an end, the sooner we can proceed with the next business of the House of Commons. A point of order, I will come to the honourable gentleman. Point of order, Mr. Simon Hoare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you've used the word perfectly properly, evidence, on a number of occasions. Certainly, I think a number of us will have seen on a variety of Twitter feeds clips which anybody who has a basic lip-reading skill will understand what the Labour leader had to say about my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister. Sir, will you undertake to take into evidence things which people have tweeted out to show that?
I've got the point. Yeah. Come on, quickly.
And indeed to take the footage taken by the officials of this place in terms of television.
I don't honestly think that added much, frankly. I think the commitment was pretty clear. But yes, I'm very happy to provide the honourable gentleman the assurance that he seeks. Point of order, Mr. David Morris.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've got the utmost respect for your position and the chair. If you look at what's been put forward in evidence and you come back with a judgment, would you please call the honourable gentleman back to the chamber so that we can hear the full evidence of what's been put forward?
I think I rather indicated that I expected that to happen. So if the honourable gentleman seeks the assurance that I would expect the Leader of the Opposition to be here, the answer is yes. And I'm saving the right honourable gentleman up. It'd be a pity to squander him. Point of order, Bob Seeley.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. When you have seen the video replay, and thank God for video replays, and you decide to come back to the House, sir, do you have the power to call the Leader of the Opposition back to make sure that he is here to face us?
The short answer to the honourable gentleman is that technically I do not have that power, but I think it reasonable to suppose, in the circumstances, that the Leader of the Opposition would return to the chamber. I think that is an entirely reasonable assumption. It's not for me to get into that until the evidence has been assessed, but it is reasonable to suppose that the right honourable gentleman would return to the chamber. Point of order, Mr. Mark Francois.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the avoidance of doubt, I'm not taking part in an orchestrated riot, but I would like politely to ask a question. I think my right honourable friend was quite right. In these circumstances, you should consult the video referee. And I think you will find that the video evidence is overwhelming. Earlier, the honourable member for Bassetlaw made a very powerful point at Prime Minister's questions about anti-Semitism. And there was a great hear around the chamber. And none of us, on any side of this House, would countenance an anti-Semitic statement, particularly made at the dispatch box of the Commons. If we're not going to have anti-Semitic statements, Mr. Speaker, we cannot have misogynistic statements either.
I agree with the right honourable gentleman 100%. I agree with him, for the avoidance of doubt and benefiting by repetition, 100%. If we have concluded the points of order, of which it's pretty clear I have attempted to treat in detail, we come now to the first of the two ministerial statements. Statement the Secretary of State for the Home Department, Secretary Sajid Javid.